My mom still treats me like I'm 5 years old. And I grew a beard to try to confuse her. It did not work. She got really nervous about me after the UCSB shooting happened, which was a scary time for everybody. She called my house at 3 a.m. at night. And she just said, "Jake, are you okay?" I was like, "Mom, I don't go to school there." "I think so. Are you okay?" She's like, "Oh, I never went there." I was like, "All right." And then we just had like a really long conversation, and she kept telling me how much she loved me. And then we got to the end of the conversation, and she just goes, "Jake, promise me one thing. I don't care how mad you get. Don't ever do anything like that." I had to promise my mom over the phone that I wasn't going to shoot up a school. The worst part was she didn't believe me, so I had to keep doing it. I was like, I'm not going to shoot up a school. That's mean, first off. I'm not that kind of guy. And then she kept interrupting me. I was like, "Mom, I'm not going to shoot up. Mom, I'm not going to shoot up a school. Mom, I'm not going to shoot." And I was like, "Mom, I'm not going to shoot up a school!" And that kind of sounds like somebody who might shoot up a school. So I was like, hey, thanks for checking in. Everything's good. I would never shoot up a school. I'd only do the first part of a school shooting, which is kill your parents. That's what I find relatable. You ever read those stories, you get to the part where the guy kills his parents, you're like, they must have done some messed up stuff. They must have messed with you a long time. And then you keep reading and he kills like 16 innocent people, and you're like, what's your problem, dude? I was rooting for you. You were a solid individual. And then this huge character twist. You know what you should have done? You should have killed all those 16 people's parents and left them alone. And nobody would have even looked for you. And then you get to the end of the story, and you keep reading, and the guy kills himself, and you just think, man, this guy's just doing everything I want to do with my life. Some people are just more motivated than I am. What, did he have an assistant or something? Nope, lone gunman. Well, what are you going to do? I went to a very homophobic high school. Everybody's nickname was Faggot there. Mine was fucking Faggot, because people just really didn't want me around. My favorite teacher there, Mrs. Faggot. Oh, she could teach a dick off a book, which is a phrase she taught me. We didn't have girls there, so we pretty much did whatever we wanted when we wanted to. There was one time a kid came to class dressed as a panda bear. And he was not sent home because he was better behaved as a panda than he was as a human being. Couldn't touch anything with his fingers, and he'd raise his hand, and our teacher, God bless him, would be like, all right, let's see what Panda's got for number 2. And then Panda, super confident, is like, "Rrrr." And then slowly realizing nobody spoke Panda, he was just like, "Rrrr. Rrrr." And he just slowly put his head down on his desk. And we'd all point and laugh at him. And then our teacher interrupted our laughter. He was like, "Hey, if you guys tried half as hard as that Panda, some of you would be going to college next year." So it was a pretty inspiring Panda. There was another kid who would pee completely naked at the urinal. Entirely naked. Like he found a place to hang his shirt and then all the rest of his clothes. And we would walk in on him, and he would just be there holding his dick with 3 fingers and just be like, and then just do a little jiggle and laugh, which is so creepy. And we told our teachers about it. We're like, hey, this kid keeps being completely naked at the urinal. I'm already questioning my sexuality. I don't need any more of this. And then our teacher was like, hey, look, I'm not allowed to go in the bathroom with a naked kid. But if you guys want to beat the shit out of him, I will look the other way. I was like, fair enough. I had a very intense Spanish teacher. His name was Senor Maricone, which is Spanish for faggot. Well, it's technically Spanish for Mr. Faggot, but nobody respected him, so that's just how it was. And there was this kid one time, and he just farted in class. That's all that happened. He just farted because we weren't allowed to leave Spanish class to go to the restroom. And Maricone is in the corner. His ears perk up. And then he slowly tracks the entire class. Lands on one kid. And by God, it was the kid. He nailed it. He walks over, gets down right in front of him, just goes, "Hey, do I come to your house and take a shit?" That's a real question that was asked in my Spanish class. This is insane. This is insane. That wasn't the craziest part. The craziest part was it was not a rhetorical question. He stayed right there. He's like, "Hey, do I come to your house and take a shit, you little boy?" And we're trying to tell the kid, just say no. It's the same Spanish and English. And I don't think he cares. And so finally the kid's like having a nightmare as this guy's like an inch from his face. And he just goes, "No, senor, no, senor." American goes, "You're right." Because that would be a bad thing to do to someone. And then he just walks away. And then he runs back, full speed, gets right in the kid's face, and goes, "Hey, do I come to your house and shit on your couch?" And at that point, we all knew somebody shit on this guy's couch. And he's lost his mind. Which makes sense. If you went home and you found human shit on your couch, you would never trust anyone ever again, and you would teach Spanish class. That's not even the craziest thing that guy did. One time he was teaching us the Spanish form of ustedes on the board. All of a sudden he turned around and he's like, "Hey, Cannon." Who's me? He's like, "Hey, Cannon, I'm gonna teach you how to eat a banana so it doesn't look like you're sucking a cock." I was not eating a banana at that point in time. He just brought it up. I was like, see? And so then we all gathered around his desk, everybody. Not a normal lecture style, it was like sit down on your hindquarters. And we all gathered, like he was gonna read us a story. And he goes into his drawer and he pulls out not one banana, but a bunch of bananas, closes it, and for 15 minutes he eats a banana in front of us, lecturing the entire time. A kid raises his hand and goes, "Sir, I missed some of that." And he goes, "Okay." And then he does it for 15 minutes again. And at no point did it look like he was sucking a cock. So that's the most we ever learned from him. And then we wrote him in as Teacher of the Year as a joke. And he won. So I guess nobody else submitted. I went to prom with my girlfriend at the time, and we were driving to prom together. We told each other we loved each other earlier in the day, and then when we were driving to prom, she decided that was the best opportunity for her to tell me that she was gay. And I just turned to her and I said, "No." And we just that's how you handle that. You just sweep it under the rug. And nobody will bring it up again. She kept going though. I was like, "Oh, the conversation's over." I feel like I had the definitive point there. And she goes, "I'm so sorry. I didn't want to tell you. You're my best friend. I'm so sorry. I know this is a bad time." I was like, "Yeah, I'm wearing a suit." So, yeah. And then she's like, "I kind of thought you knew though." I was like, "No. Again, I asked you to prom." So, she's like, "Yeah, but one time you said I was hot like Ellen." I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Ellen DeGeneres." I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, "Ellen." I was like, "Okay." And she goes, "Jake, Ellen's gay." I was like, "This is the worst day of my life." I'm really bad. This is awful. Why did nobody tell me that when I was hanging a poster in my room? And then we kept driving. She kept trying to cheer me up, which was really sweet. She was like, "Hey, we don't have to go to prom. We can just get ice cream." Or I was like, "No, I don't want to do that." She's like, "What if we go just see a movie?" I was like, "No, let's just go to prom. We don't have to talk there." And then she was like, "Wait, you can still touch my tits if you want to." I was like, "That's it. That's the one. I'll do that still." That's awesome. And then she said, "Let me text my girlfriend to make sure it's okay." I was like, "So you're gay and you're cheating on me?" Just to recap my prom. She's like, yep. I was like, all right, let's go. I found out that night that ex-girlfriend was dating one of my other ex-girlfriends. They met through me. I introduced them to each other. I was like, hey, this is my girlfriend. And the other one was like, we'll see. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but I'm just gonna bury it. I found out that night, and I found a giant rock in the suburbs to cry on, which is almost impossible to do. They threw out all the rocks in like the 1990s. Just a bunch of grass, and then there's one big rock, and it says the city's name on it. This one said Chino Hills. I climbed to the top of that, and I just laid there and waited for my mom to pick me up. And she comes in a 1999 red PT Cruiser, which she still thinks is the coolest car in the entire world. I get in, I tell her the entire story, everything that happened. And to cheer me up, she just goes, you know, I was almost gay in college.
Oh my God.
I was like, how did you make this about you? I told you two people that I used to hook up with are now hooking up with each other, and you're like, you know, I don't like your dad so much. She's like, come on, man. You should tell them this, not me. I didn't know where the straight people are. And then it got really quiet, and I was like, Mom, why didn't you tell me about Ellen? She's like, I didn't think you were ready. I wasn't. I think if I wanted to, I could have one of the only logical and socially acceptable forms of homophobia. Because if anything makes you cry that much, you should be allowed to be scared of it, and people shouldn't be mad at you. You're just like, yeah, it's like, I don't hate it, it's just like the same thing as spiders for me, because anytime I tell a spider I love it, it lies to me. My two exes used to go on dates together, and they would call me from the dates and ask if I wanted to go along. And I would go, because I had nothing better to do. I was like, what time, what are we doing? And they're like, we're gonna climb trees together. And I was like, all right, I'll be there. And I'd show up, and they would actually climb trees together. And I couldn't climb trees. So I just had to sit at the bottom of the tree and look up and imagine what it was like to see them kiss. Which is the saddest and most turned on I've ever been in my entire life. Until I realized being sad and turned on, that's just called adulthood. That's just the rest of your life forever. Sometimes you're sad, sometimes you're turned on, and sometimes you can't tell the difference. You're just having sex with some woman you don't know, and in the middle of it you think, I should have just called my dad today. We should have had a talk. And then you call your dad, you have a wonderful conversation, and at the end he tells you he loves you for the first time, and that's when you come. I like to end a joke where like nobody likes me, so you were like, I kind of felt bad for that guy that hates lesbians, but no more. I got a new job recently. This girl started the same day as me. She was a legacy, which, I mean, her mom worked there, so she was super excited. She walked in, she was like, oh my God. Guys, I've been waiting for this job my entire life. It was a minimum wage part-time job as a tour guide. You do not need to wait for that. You all currently have that job, you just haven't showed up yet. You're all employed there. On the same day as me, there was another guy, 65-year-old tour guide. It was the saddest thing I've ever seen. Until he told his story, which was even sadder. He worked at this company for 35 years, cutting dailies for them. And then 3 weeks before his retirement, they fired him, so they wouldn't have to pay him a pension. And so, what he did was come back as a tour guide, which sounds like the worst revenge movie ever. Like Liam Neeson's like, I don't want to do that. And he would give these long speeches at work that would start happy and then slowly drift into something else. He'd be like, you know guys, you guys are gonna love this company. It's a family company. And yeah, I know they let me go, but you know, you gotta tighten your belt sometimes. And I have a second job at the restaurant Five Guys, and I have to close, so I'm just one guy in Five Guys. And then that's how he would start his day. That's what he would do. There was one time we were just walking together, And he told me, hey, I gotta move back in with my parents this weekend. Which was a weird thing to say, because I asked him what his favorite movie was. Sorry. But I love saddies, they're my people. So I kept talking to him and I was like, oh man, that's rough. He's like, yeah, you know, sometimes you just gotta do things you don't wanna do. And then it occurred to me that Mark has no idea about suicide. Just like never even heard of the concept. Like I just wanted to tell him one time when we were walking together, just be like, hey Mark, what are you doing this weekend? He's like, oh, nothing. I'm like, dude, I got a plan for you. Remember when they fired you? You don't do that, you quit. And you quit everything. You never show up to a single thing again, and you get to go to this magical land with no responsibility and no pressure, and nobody bothers you ever again. And he was like, can I bring my parents? Like, yeah, you just gotta plan ahead. You can do that. I had to take sexual harassment training on my first day of work. Pretty much because they saw me and they were okay, guy with beard who breathes out of his mouth. Get in here. You're absurd. You tried to sneak by me. You're busy. Because at my old job, I asked out 35 of my coworkers. Which at that point, you should just send out a company-wide memo being like, what are you guys doing on Friday? No dudes. Which is how I ended all my company memos for a while. No dudes. Thanks to HR, sincerely no dudes. I've cleaned it up. The training for HR and sexual harassment is based on the idea that a bunch of dudes want to know what they could still do to women in the workplace, and so they ask a bunch of terrible questions. And now all of those questions are just the curriculum. Because this woman walks in and she goes, hi everybody, how's everybody doing? Now, this is the final question of the day. If there's a man or woman crying in the lunchroom, are you allowed to give them a hug? One guy raises his hand and he goes, I don't know. And she's like, that's a great answer. If you don't know, don't say anything. And then I start to raise my hand. She's like, sir, calm down. I was like, just, okay. I just kind of want to know what the right answer is. Watch your tone. And she's like, well, if you must know, and nobody else did, by the way, the correct answer is no. Because some people don't like to be touched. So as a general rule, hugs are out. However, high fives and handshakes are a-okay. Have you ever tried to high five somebody who's crying before? I'm so sorry about your mom. Up high. Low five, more your speed? Jesus. Also, don't cry in the lunchroom. Cry in the bathroom like an adult. It smells like shit in there, you feel like shit, it's perfect. Then I think we can all agree if I come to the bathroom and try to give you a hug that is sexual harassment. Judy, how you doing in stall 2? Just wanted to check on you. How's the breakup? By the way, everybody smells great in here. I think I'm just gonna stay in here for the rest of the day. I got sexually harassed at work one time, which, I mean, I'm pretty distracting, so it's hard for people to get work done, but some people take it too far. And the HR woman, who was really sexy, which you should also not say at work, she comes up to me, beautiful woman. She just comes up, she goes, Jake, how long have you been growing that beard? I was like, well, I've been growing it. And then she takes her hand and just starts touching my face like that. I'm just like, are you allowed to do this as a member of HR? And she goes, only if I think it's welcomed. Which sounds like every HR excuse you've ever heard. Like the guy who pulled his dick out at the water cooler and was just like, I thought everybody was having a rough Monday. Have you read Dilbert this week? It's not cheering anybody up. And by the way, when I did that, productivity went up 35%. It's like, they won't tell you that. And then they're like, Carl, do you still call your dick productivity? He's like, you bet your ass I do. Not changing a great name. If you're pretty at work, you can say whatever you want to. We had this guy named Andrew. He was like me, but completely different. And one day, we had an office full of women. There were so many women in there, and there was like women on the ceiling. And Andrew walks in, and the first thing he starts talking about is fucking trannies. Didn't even try to find the word transgender, just went for it. Probably doesn't know it exists. The women in the room love it. They're clapping, they're applauding. Andrew, inspired, walks over to a desk, and he picks up a tissue box. And if you thought, God, I hope he doesn't fuck that tissue box, he does. He gets it, and he makes eye contact with every single person in the room. He gets an applause break for fucking a tissue box. And then all of a sudden, right when he's about to come, he stops. And he looks really, really sad. And all of a sudden, he just takes the tissue box, and he puts it on the desk, and he just goes, you know, guys, I don't know if you guys know this, but after trannies have that surgery, they can't come anymore. Which is not true, by the way. That's just something he made up. But Andrew's favorite thing in the world is to come. And the idea that a group of people would give that up to truly be themselves has touched him on such a deep level. And so one of the girls tries to cheer him up. She's like, wait, not even from masturbation? Andrew can't look at anybody, and he just goes, no. Not even from that. And all the girls go, oh no! And then I said, sounds like everybody masturbates a lot in here. And then I was sent home for a day. Because that's how that works. If you ask out 35 of your coworkers, you are not allowed to engage in witty tranny banter. That's just fair enough. I don't like any younger version of myself. Even the one who just said that. I thought he was a little judgmental for me. And the guy who said that, I thought his shirt was too tight. He should have chose something else. When I was a kid, I would just do these really dumb things. I was in 2nd grade, and I had my own Hawaiian shirt collection. This looked like a little retired Tommy Bahama walking everywhere. I asked my parents that year I asked them to wrap all my gifts in a briefcase. I just want to be ready to go. Another thing I did was I dyed my bangs bleach blonde to look like a member of NSYNC. Which member of NSYNC was that? None of them had that specific haircut. I had just listened to their music and I was like, I bet one of them has a bleach blonde. Pretty sweet. It looked like a peep was just slowly rotting in my hair ever since Easter. Another thing I did was I was in love with this girl, and if you're an idiot, you try to impress them even though they want nothing to do with you. I would have done anything for her just to notice me. And so what I did was I made a surprise documentary for her about her life. What's a surprise documentary? That's where you make a movie about somebody, but they don't want you to make it, and neither does anybody else. This is the first scene from Samantha, I Love You, Jake. We open with an homage to Woody Allen's Manhattan. Did I shoot it in black and white? You bet your ass I did. I didn't know color film existed yet. We did a slow pan. All of a sudden, you realize that Chino Hills does not have a good skyline because no building is taller than 2 stories. So it's terrible. And if you're thinking, wait a minute, Manhattan doesn't start with a panning shot. It starts with still images. I'm a better director than Woody Allen! Boom, cut to my narration. I keep talking and talking. I'm like, Samantha is the sea. Samantha is the girl for me. She's a babe. Boom, cut to the sky. Jump cut to me, we zoom out, and I'm wearing a wig and a dress, and I play Samantha for the rest of that movie. Because I was in charge of casting. I thought she would fall in love with me by seeing herself in me and recognizing that we were one. That was a line from the movie. It never came out because my cinematographer got caught with a bunch of porn on his computer by his parents, and they made him delete every single video that he had. And I still think when they were deleting all the porn videos that the most disturbing video is still me in a dress in black and white. And he had to explain to them that no, that was his choice. I didn't force him to do that. And his parents would obviously respond, nobody would choose to do that. You need therapy. I used to announce college baseball for a little bit. I thought that's how you broke into acting. So that's what I went out for. And I told them that I wasn't going to be able to describe what type of pitches were thrown. So I was just going to say, here comes the pitch every time. And they were like, look, that's fine. It's college baseball. Nobody listens. And I was like, perfect. I remember my first game. I was like, hey everybody, you're listening to the California Bears versus the Stanford Cardinals. We got a hell of a ball game for you today. My partner immediately cuts to commercial break. And I'm like, oh, it's because I said hell, huh? I shouldn't have said hell. And he's like, no. You got the team names wrong. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, they are the Stanford Cardinal, not the Stanford Cardinals. I was like, why would you name yourself just after one bird? That's so stupid to me. He's like, no, they're not named after the bird. They're named after the color, cardinal red. And I was like, that's even dumber. Why would you do that? And then he's like, well, they used to be called the Stanford Indians. And I was like, say no more. I understand what happened here. I announced one more game after that. And the guy was batting. And he hits the ball and he fouls it off in this direction. And I said, ooh, back into the left, that's the old JFK. Which is not a way you should describe any baseball play. Certainly just a foul ball to bring up a presidential assassination is a mistake. So I tried to cover it up with my classic catchphrase at this point. Here comes the pitch, Cal up 5-0. But my partner wouldn't let it go. Not because he was trolling me, but because he didn't know what I was talking about. She's like, what do you mean, the whole back and the left thing, JFK? I was like, doesn't matter, beautiful day at the ballpark here, 5-0 Cal. He's like, no, what are you talking about? I don't know anything about that. And because I didn't know anything about baseball, I went 3 innings deep on the JFK assassination on live radio. I got to a point where I was describing where we would have been had it taken place at the field. I was like, we're up here in the broadcast booth. That's where Lee Harvey Oswald fired his shots. If you look out there in left field, that's Dealey Plaza. The motorcade was going at about 15 miles per hour. And my partner goes, wait a minute. You're saying Oswald was here, and JFK was there. I don't think he could have made that shot from here. And I was like, I know, man, there's no way he could have made that shot. It's an impossible shot, even if he was right there. It's impossible. It had to be somebody from our government who was in the Stanford dugout, by the way, behind the grassy knoll, man. What are we talking about? And by the way, when that happened, we just all went on with our lives. We just kept playing baseball. Baseball should have died that day, man. Baseball should have died. It was like, looks like Johnson's still got that perfect game going. By the way, LBJ might have been involved. All right, guys, thank you so much for coming out tonight. I really appreciate it. Let's get Jeremy back out here.